Okay, Idris. So let's take a little look here. We see that price. This drawing takes this high as its endpoint. So by the time this drawing would have been in place, we should have already known that that was a significant reversal. So let's say we start looking at the thing something like from down here, and then we can see from here on how this drawing might have worked. So we do get the support from this diagonal. We get some kind of clustering around this level, and then a bounce here, a little bounce here. Then we get the rejection off, you can say the diagonal here, or also the horizontal line is right there. Find it coming up. We find that there's a time marker here, which corresponds to this next drive down that takes it to where it bounces here. It comes up, and if you look a little closer, then having come up, it takes, it bounces off this one and gets shot up. Then it comes up, and we find it reacting. Could say to this line here, perhaps, or this line. Then a bounce. It comes down, bounces off here, comes down, gets support here, comes up. I call this a failure sometimes when it's like it doesn't really kind of like tries to go up, but then just peters out. And actually, those can be followed by really strong falls. So here, coming down, support here, reaction here, support here, reacting here, support here again, and then resistance here, comes down and closes there. Then falling, support here. This would be another example of a failure when I talk about it's like it tries to go down and then but fails, and then so here we have the timeline coming up here again, failing. Here's a support on this line, resistance here and here, and here, falling down. This kind of overshoots here. I mean, you could call this perhaps energetically reacting to this line. Coming up, getting some support here, resistance here, support here, resistance here. You could call that perhaps support from this diagonal here, resistance coming up, coming down, overshooting this line, resistance, then shooting back up and over. Then here where it's like clustering around here, coming up. Again, you could say energetically reacting to this line, clustering for here for a minute, then coming down clearly some kind of support here, coming up, getting resistance there, but bouncing back down, overshooting again, support here, then breaking through, getting support here, resistance, support, coming up, and then we have support again, and then recently we just broke above this level, and so so like what would I be, in terms of this drawing, what might be a potential thing that you might look, if I would send you images, every so often, and you would take a quick look at it, well, we might be, suppose it would start coming up here and clustering along this line, and then fall down, or it would come here and cluster along this line and then break up, and so something like exhibiting similar behavior. I don't want it's not the times when it's in the middle of nowhere, that it's not. I wouldn't expect you to like let me know when it's I don't know, just what's a good example, like here or something like that, because we want to get in a little bit sooner, when it is really interacting with the lines, I guess would be a way, not after too far after the reaction has already occurred. So again, like say we wouldn't, say, 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 wouldn't be as interested in here, for example, as perhaps when we would get the breakthrough here. That might have been an interesting point. So then that's just an example there. Now I'm going to put up something different, and now this is going to look really dense, but I'm going to thin it out. So wait, where is it? Oh, we can take a quick look at that. So here, that one is coming down from. It takes this low here. Wait, why is it? Oh, that's the wrong one. So that one takes this low, and so for that one, we'd be looking. We'd have to know that that was a low. So anything from beyond here, we get a look at that. So that would, in terms of that, we have, say, support here, and then some resistance here, and breaking above, then catching support here, some resistance here, coming up, and then kind of just messing around in here, some support here, some resistance here, support here, comes up, a little support there, but then breaks down, some support here, resistance here, falling down, support along here. Now that's a good example too. Like when you get these kind of this clustering along this line, then when that ends, when we see that that's no longer seeming to exercise that same magnetic force as before. It's like broken free from the orbit of this line. For example, maybe here one might call it, or maybe here. That might, obviously that would have been a good long entry. So let's now take a look at, these are going to be GAN planetary lines, so it's going to look pretty crazy at first. Yep. Alrighty. So, what do we have here? Well, let's go in and, first of all, take a look at this at stronger magnification. We're going to go down to the half hour. Okay. So here, one of the things that comes to my mind in these areas where there is some space that isn't, completely occupied by a bunch of crazy lines, we might expect price to more easily move through those areas. So in this situation, for example, one could say, well, when we get, free from all this and it enters into this space, that could have been something that might have been an interesting opportunity. Another thing that comes to my mind is I've noticed there are situations where it's like there are times when price is sort of reacting to the lines or bound by them, it would seem, like in here. And then it'll be like price just breaks free of it. And for example, here, it's like, yeah, it's not, nothing is catching it, which is, okay, let's keep going, some more examples. Here's another example of it just sort of like, it's sort of reacting to all of this, and then boom, it just starts slicing through. Here, we see it just kind of pushing through, and here pushing through. So, of course, I would think that the straight line, first of all, this is just a lot on the chart here. But let me see. Actually, I'll stop the recording for a second. Yeah, I can't pause the recording, can I? Can I pause it? Yeah, I can pause it. Okay, so we're back to daily candles, and Here I've thinned it out a bit, and I think that is looking at something more usable. So we have here, resistance here and clustering here, kind of trapped in there, then coming up and getting stopped out here, getting support here, coming up, support here. Then we have, kind of following this line, then coming down, getting support here, resistance here, support here, resistance here, support here, coming up, resistance here, then kind of getting trapped in this thing, breaking up from it, and then pausing here, coming up, a little bit of like resistance here, support here, and then today a resistance here. Here we have a resistance here, getting some resistance here, kind of clustering. Yeah, we already did that part. So nonetheless, I would think that although that is thinned out and certainly more workable, it is still rather the fact that these lines aren't straight and whatnot is a bit much. Let's just see what happens if we take it down to the 1 hour. Oh, well, actually 65 minutes actually. But yeah. So what's the problem here? Okay, so there we go. Yeah, it's a more useful view, I think. Still a bit crazy, ain't it? Still a bit of wacky, wild stuff. So, anything more that I see here now that we came in? Well, I think you could notice, for example, these red lines. This is kind of it's following along the trend here and here downwards. What else? Anything? Get resistance here, you see, and here you can see reaction. But let's look at some straight line stuff now. So go back to the daily here. So I'm going to put on a Gann box, and I think, yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, so we're going to go Gann box. And this is from the low of the crash in March of 2020, and then up to the high the market made up here. And then I'm going to flip that so that we get another one coming off to the right. And then, so, first let's look at it, I guess, in this form. So we do see the interaction with this line here. We see the resistance here. We see it interacting with this line here and support here. You could say, it's interacting with this line here in some way, then resistance a little bit following along this, coming up, interacting with this. Some support here, some resistance here, you might say. A little bit. You could kind of, maybe call this interacting here, and then we get it, messing around here, breaking below and coming up above. So now I'm going to just add in some more lines to this box by going like this. Oops, that's not the one I wanted to change. It's okay. Oh, let's leave off the 8s. That's a bit much. Okay. So now that we added in the green lines, let's see how that changes things. No, I mean we added in the blue lines, right? Yeah, the blue is what was just added. Correct. Okay. So now that the blue has been added, I mean, right? Yeah, the green was what was there before. Now we got the blue. Okay. So now we see this following along here, and we see it resistance here, and then getting trapped in between these. So kind of support here, resistance here. And we see some resistance here. Now this is a good example here. So, price tags this blue line a couple times, and then we get, a push up and a break over this line. So that could have been a long entry perhaps. But we're in a downtrend, so it would have been, the down moves were clearly bigger. Here's a good one. So it's clustering along here, and then here we see it leaving that. It's sort of broken free from that magnetic field, and then boom, down, and we get it stopping here. Also the timeline nicely marked where that reversal is. Some interaction here, some interaction here, some interaction here, and some interaction here. Here's another example of like this clustering along here and then the break up. So that's an example there with the GAN box. Take those off. This is a pretty cool tool, what I'm about to put on. I think you might like it. So this is called the who cares what it's called? Oop, I'll fix that later. How this works, how this could work, why this would work, don't ask me, please. I have no answer for you. So here, let's zoom in there a bit. So we would have had to know this low was already in. So that, oh, is this not? Okay. So from here on, we find this line is providing an interesting kind of like trend marker here, and so the break away from that trend, the leaving of it might have been an interesting thing to note. It does follow along here, and then the break away from that, when it follows up a curve and then it like loses that magnetic field and then it drops. So yeah, that's pretty much the kind of thing that I was thinking maybe you could help me with. It is something where, for whatever reason, that when it gets to the time to actually do what I just said for the sake of entering a trade, my mind doesn't work so well because, of course, it always involves a waiting. Now is almost never the right time to enter a trade. So it's like you would, for example, let's put that back up. So with this, let's say, excuse me. Let's see. That's an example. Well, like let's say, it was, you'd noted that a couple bars of it, following along this diagonal, and then we get the break up. So that might have been something to bring to my attention, and then by the time we get the bounce off it here and it's showing, yes, we're no longer following this line anymore, that would have been a long entry potentially. With the GAN box, so, for example, let's see, Well, I'm almost finished here, but okay, for example here, we see the clustering in here, and then we see this diagonal acting as resistance, and then, if we were here and whatnot, it would have been, it would have been like, okay, well, let's wait and see what happens, and then when we get the break here, that could have been an interesting thing to let me know about. Um, do a quick look on how it looks on the 65-minute. So there, yeah, for example here, as it was doing that, one could have been saying, oh, okay, well, let's see, it's kind of in a rather confined area between these lines, so let's see what happens. And then when it came up here, reacted, and then bounced through, that could have been something to let me know about. Or when when it's like having resistance here, and then again breaking off, and now it's between these two, and then when it leaves that, okay, so that's basically the idea. We could just look briefly at the horizontal levels and see if that gives us any more examples to work with. So, here would have been because it rather closely touched this and vigorously moved off from that and shot up. That could have been interesting. Here, the reaction here, and then here there's so many levels around. I might wanted to have taken the trade here, but then maybe when it broke below here and there was a little bit of a thinner space, that could have been something good. Here we get the support, and then when it breaks up, that could have been something to look at. Here we get a double top kind of on this time frame, reacting to these lines. So by the time we shot down here, this could have been good. Here we have this is some kind of resistance here. So when it broke up, especially when it had come back and tapped this again, as support broke up, kind of had a failed move up, but then when it retested, I think that that's what they call it here. That would have been an interesting entry. Okay, Idris, I hope that is going to turn out to be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now.